Laughter cut through the quiet, heavy air of the funeral home. My stepsister Olivia spoke just loud enough for everyone to hear, her voice full of hate. Look at her crying like she actually belongs here. Dad never even wanted her. I stood alone by my father's casket, gently placing my hand on it, trying not to cry. My name is Anna Mitchell, and at 32 years old, I was saying goodbye to the only parent who ever truly loved me. My stepmother Victoria walked over, her high heels clicking loudly on the floor. Her face wore a fake smile. "Emma, dear," she said, using the wrong name on purpose like she always had, "shouldn't you be helping with the food? That's more your style." I didn't correct her. My name is Anna, not Emma. I wasn't the help. I was James Mitchell's daughter. But Victoria had spent 20 years pretending I wasn't. She probably thinks she's getting something in the will, Olivia whispered to her brother Marcus. Like Dad would leave anything to the babysitter's kid. That's what they called my mom, the babysitter. But she had been my dad's first love. They were married for 8 years before she died. I was their wanted planned child. Victoria and her kids never cared about that. "I'm here to say goodbye to my father," I said quietly, holding back tears. "This isn't about money." Victoria laughed, cold and sharp. "Oh, sweetie, everything is about money. Why else do you think your father married me after your mother's little accident?" Her words hit me hard. Mom's car crash had shattered Dad and me. Then Victoria came in, acting like a kind neighbor. A year later, she and her kids moved into our house. Life was never the same. Speaking of money, Marcus added, fixing his tie, "We should talk about the house. Olivia and I think it's time to sell. We'll be inheriting everything anyway." I looked at him and remembered when he first moved in at 13, asking me for help with homework. Now he was just like Victoria, cold, proud, and selfish. "The lawyer will be here soon," Victoria said, checking her gold watch. "He told me James gave clear instructions." Her tone made me uneasy. In the final months, when Dad was sick, she kept me away, saying he was too weak. My messages were ignored. My calls never returned. But I had one thing. A note. A small, worn piece of paper in my pocket. The last message Dad had passed to his nurse Sandra before Victoria fired her. "Tell Anna I love her. Tell her to be patient. Tell her to remember the lighthouse." The lighthouse. The place where we scattered Mom's ashes. Our special spot. We went there every year on her birthday, until Victoria stopped it, calling it too depressing. At noon, the lawyer, Mr. Patterson, walked in. His face looked serious as he placed his briefcase down. Victoria rushed to greet him, smiling like a perfect widow. "Shall we begin?" she asked sweetly. "The family is ready." He nodded, but his eyes found mine. He looked at me with something I couldn't quite name, maybe not pity, but something close. It made Victoria's smile falter. "Yes," he said, opening his briefcase. "Let's read James Mitchell's last will and testament." Olivia clutched Marcus's arm, excited. Victoria stood between them, one hand on each of their shoulders like they were a picture-perfect family. I stayed by the casket, holding Dad's note and his last words, "Be patient." Mr. Patterson cleared his throat. The room went quiet. I thought about all the years I was pushed aside, treated like I didn't belong. "Before I begin," he said, "I should mention this will was updated 3 months ago, with very specific instructions." Victoria's smile grew. "Yes, James was always very detailed." "Let's hear it." The lawyer pulled out a thick envelope with a seal on it. "Very well," he said. "But I must warn you, this may surprise some of you." Victoria's hands tightened on her children's shoulders. Her smile faded just a bit. And for the first time since Dad died, I felt a small spark of hope. "Let's begin," said Mr. Patterson, breaking the seal, "with the last wishes of James Mitchell." "First," Mr. Patterson said clearly, "I need to explain why this will was changed. 3 months ago, James Mitchell asked to meet with me in private because he was worried about what was happening around him." Victoria's face turned pale. "What private meeting?" "I handled all of James' appointments while he was sick." "Not this one," Mr. Patterson replied. "The meeting was arranged with the help of his nurse Sandra before she was suddenly let go." My heart jumped. Sandra, the nurse who gave me Dad's final note. She had done more than I realized. "During that meeting," Mr. Patterson went on, "Mr. Mitchell gave me many documents, private recordings, bank records, medical reports." Olivia frowned. What does any of that have to do with the will? Everything, Mr. Patterson said, pulling out another paper. These records show a pattern of control. Phone calls were blocked, visitors turned away, and medical choices were made without the right process. Victoria stepped forward, clearly upset. This is nonsense. I was protecting my husband when he was vulnerable. You were keeping him away from everyone, I said softly. That's why I couldn't reach him. Mr. Patterson nodded. Which brings us to the actual will. James Mitchell's entire estate, including the house, his investments, and all other property, will be placed in a trust. A trust? Marcus asked. What kind of trust? The Mitchell Family Preservation Trust, Mr. Patterson answered, with Anna Mitchell as the only trustee. The room exploded. Victoria lunged forward, furious. This is a lie. He changed the will years ago. I saw it. The paper you saw, Mr. Patterson said calmly, was not the real will. Mr. Mitchell believed his documents were being watched, so he created a fake one to throw you off. I remembered Dad's note. Be patient. He'd known what they were doing, and he found a way to outsmart them. The trust has clear rules, Mr. Patterson said, raising his voice over Victoria's yelling. The house can't be sold unless the trustee agrees. Everyone living there now can stay, but they must help pay for its care. Olivia laughed bitterly. You want us to pay rent? To her? Not rent, I said, finally understanding. A fair share, like a real family would. Mr. Patterson gave a small smile. Exactly. James wanted this to be a home for everyone, but only if you could live together like a true family. This is ridiculous, Victoria said sharply. We'll fight this. James wasn't thinking clearly. The will was signed in front of two doctors who said he was completely aware of what he was doing, Mr. Patterson said. And with all the evidence he gave us, I don't think a court will be on your side. I reached into my pocket and touched Dad's note again. The lighthouse. Mr. Patterson, I asked, did my dad leave anything about a certain place? He nodded and pulled out one last envelope. He said you'd ask about the lighthouse. This is for you. Open it there. Victoria's face went white. The lighthouse? What's there? I thought about the times Dad and I went there to remember Mom, to talk and be close. What had he left for me there? I guess I'll find out, I said, taking the envelope. I looked around the room as everything changed. Victoria and her children's plans were falling apart. Dad hadn't just protected me, he protected the idea of what our family used to be before they tried to erase it. His last words echoed in my head. Be patient. He hadn't just meant to wait, he meant that the truth would come out. As Mr. Patterson packed up his things, he glanced at his watch. The lighthouse closes at sunset, he said quietly. If you're going today? I nodded, holding the envelope tightly. Whatever Dad had left for me there, I knew it would matter. And I was ready. The lighthouse stood tall against the setting sun, its white walls painted orange by the fading light. I parked my car in the familiar gravel lot, the envelope from Mr. Patterson heavy in my hands. 20 years of memories washed over me, Mom's laughter, Dad's stories, the peace we'd found here before Victoria changed everything. With trembling fingers, I opened the envelope. Inside was a key and a letter in Dad's handwriting. My dearest Anna, if you're reading this, then everything has happened as I planned. The key opens the lighthouse keeper's office. I made arrangements with the Historical Society years ago. Look behind the blue painting of the harbor. I'm sorry for the pain you've endured. When I married Victoria, I thought I was doing the right thing, giving you a complete family. By the time I realized my mistake, she had already begun isolating us, using my grief over your mother to manipulate both of us. But I never stopped watching, never stopped planning. Every cruel word, every scheme, every attempt to push you away. I documented everything. The evidence is all there, behind that painting, along with something else. Something Victoria never knew existed. Your mother and I had a dream for you, long before she passed. We wanted to protect you, to ensure you'd always have a place to call home. The lighthouse wasn't just where we scattered our ashes, it was where we built your future. I love you, sweetheart. Never doubt that. Dad. I climbed the familiar steps to the office, my heart pounding. The key slid perfectly into the lock. Inside, the blue painting hung exactly where it always had, a constant through all my visits here. Behind it was a wall safe I'd never known existed. The combination was easy. My birthday, the same numbers Dad had used for everything important. Inside, I found a thick folder and a smaller envelope. The folder contained exactly what Dad had promised: years of documented evidence. Photos of Victoria tampering with our mail, recordings of her threatening the household staff, bank statements showing how she'd slowly siphoned away Dad's assets into private accounts. But it was the smaller envelope that made my hands shake. Inside was a deed and a partnership agreement dated 2 years before Mom's death. They had bought the lighthouse and the surrounding property through a private trust, converting it into a historical site with one condition: that their daughter would inherit the position of trustee on her 32nd birthday. I was now the owner of not just a family home, but a piece of history that had been mine all along. My phone buzzed. Victoria. I let it go to voicemail, already knowing what she'd say. Threats, demands, attempts to negotiate. But she had no power anymore. The evidence in this safe would ensure that. As the sun set, I walked out onto the lighthouse balcony, the same spot where we'd scattered Mom's ashes. The sea breeze carried the same salty sweetness it always had. And for the first time since Dad's death, I felt peace. We did it, Dad, I whispered to the wind. We really did it. The next morning, I called Mr. Patterson. Within a week, Victoria, Olivia, and Marcus moved out of the family home, their dreams of easy inheritance shattered. The evidence Dad had gathered ensured they couldn't contest anything without risking their own exposure. I turned the family home into a sanctuary for single parents transitioning through tough times, naming it after my mother. The lighthouse became a museum, sharing not just maritime history but stories of love, legacy, and justice. Sometimes, on quiet evenings, I climb to the lighthouse balcony and think about patience. Dad taught me that justice doesn't always come quickly, but it does come to those who hold on to their truth and never let go of love. Victoria and her children eventually moved to another state, their perfectly crafted facade crumbling under the weight of their exposed lies. But the story people tell now isn't about their cruelty or defeat. It's about a father's love, strong enough to reach beyond death and right the wrongs of years past. The lighthouse still stands, its beam cutting through the darkest nights, guiding ships to safe harbor. Just like Dad's love had guided me through my darkest times, leading me home to the truth that had been waiting here all along. And on my mom's birthday each year, I scatter flowers from the balcony, knowing that somewhere, both my parents are watching, proud of the daughter who learned to be patient, to be strong, and to believe in the power of a love that never dies. Some people say they hear laughter on the lighthouse steps late at night, a man and a woman sharing jokes and dreams about their daughter's future. I like to think it's them, still watching over this place they created for me, still celebrating the justice that finally came to light. In the end, it wasn't just about winning or losing an inheritance. It was about preserving the truth of what family really means, not the perfect facade that Victoria tried to create, but the messy, loving, authentic bonds that withstand even death itself. Now when I look at old family photos, I don't see what I lost. I see what I gained. A legacy of love, strength, and the kind of patience that moves mountains. Or in this case, reveals the truth hidden within a lighthouse, waiting for exactly the right moment to shine.